Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining with us. I have Chris Rouland, CEO of Phosphorus, on the show with me today. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Chris, a lack of security regulations has created vulnerabilities in the Internet of Things devices. What are the IoT devices most vulnerable spots that we can talk about?
Well, the IoT today really reminds me of 1990s cybersecurity. They are full of vulnerabilities. The software is very rarely updated by the end user, and people don't even bother changing the passwords. So you're talking about basic hygiene that the rest of our desktops and our servers and data centers have had for 20 years. These little devices, because they're actually servers, they're Linux servers just wrapped in plastic or metal, but they're not treated like servers. And because of that, they are an easy way for hackers to pivot into a network. And a pivot is when a hacker breaks into your light bulb, then has access to the rest of your network. They don't care about your light bulb or your crock pot. That's just the easiest way to get into the network. I don't necessarily think that regulation is the solution. I'm generally not one to wait for the government to show up telling me they're here to help. There has been some interesting regulation in the space, specifically in California, where California passed a law starting in 2019, IoT devices made in California must ship with unique passwords and automatic update capabilities. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Reality is all the IoT devices are made in China.
Yeah, that's always good. I heard about the, what was it, Wang, that everybody's, shying away from right now?
Huawei.
Huawei, yeah, that's the one.
Well,
right.
So Huawei's got a long history of working with the Chinese intelligence community. The British government banned them. The U.S. government banned them. In Iraq, you can find Cisco routers that have Huawei motherboards in them. So these guys have been, they're basically part of the Chinese government and intelligence collection ability. And so companies like ZTE and Huawei are going to have a hard time making it in the United States, as it should be, because they don't play ethically.
Now, that's something that you don't get on the regular news. The broadcasts that are coming out there are not, they're saying, well, we just don't want to do business with them. Well, why? What do they do? Or what have they already done to us that you finally figured out shouldn't be done? So what are they doing? Are they stealing everybody's data because we got to go through their processors and nobody knew that they were doing
that? This is, Huawei is an example of the overarching intellectual property theft that's happening to our country through cybersecurity. The first time I heard about Huawei issues was probably 10 or 15 years ago, that Huawei's source code had the same typos that Cisco's source code did.
Okay.
Which means they stole lock, stock, and barrel Cisco's source code to advance their own technology.
Oh, man. Okay, and so now the public's just now becoming aware of something that you found out 10 years ago.
Well, I think they're becoming aware of it because we're in a trade war now that's getting hot. Huawei is certainly center of attention with this arrest in Canada. But there's been a low boil. Certainly, you'd never see a military base or national security organization deploying Huawei technologies. Huawei made a bid about 5 or 6 years ago to take over the telecommunications infrastructure for the United Kingdom, and they got kicked out of that deal because their products have what we call implants, or which is a nice way of saying back doors.
Oh, jeez. All right, we can talk about all the current news and things that are happening later on. I want to get to the rest of the information about you that we were going to talk about first today. We kind of like to have that nice diversion that we had for a second ago. But the types of devices right now that you see most vulnerable, bring those out.
So the most vulnerable devices are the ones that are ubiquitous and ignored. And so today, say in a consumer environment, those would be the home router, the Wi-Fi access points, interesting things going on with people hacking light bulbs. Around Christmas, there'll be a lot of new connected toys that make their way into the enterprise or into the home. In the enterprise, probably the biggest weak point, and just an oxymoron itself, is that the biggest security vulnerability are the security cameras. The security cameras actually run Linux, and they never get patched, they never get updated, the passwords don't get changed. And Twitter, 2 years ago, was taken down for almost 24 hours on an attack that was launched from compromised security surveillance cameras.
Everybody's got to be scratching their head right now. All right, so these devices are in everybody's home. What about the television? I was talking to a guy that his brother-in-law worked for a major television manufacturing company, and they got in a lot of trouble because they were going through people's devices and their televisions and gleaning information about the home, the user, and using it for their own services. They got caught, but still, what about those kind of things?
Sure. I mean, Samsung publicly was beat up over that specific issue, as well as vulnerabilities where third-party hackers could go ahead and turn the mic on. You know, we have these devices all around us streaming everything we say into the cloud. It's stored forever. As to what data security standards apply to that, it depends on the manufacturer, and the laws apply to where they're actually located. And we see good examples of, of art imitating life in television programs like Silicon Valley, where the TV, they had an episode where the TV show was or the refrigerator was recording the conversations, and that's actually really happens. So, there are underlying privacy concerns. I would separate those from the security concerns. And so the TVs also, because they run embedded operating systems, Vizio TVs run Ubuntu Linux, the same thing you run on your desktop. Samsung has several operating systems, and they're all different. And there's no uniform way to keep these devices secure and up to date, which is the problem I decided to tackle with my most recent venture, Phosphorus.
Okay, tell me, since you opened the door, let's walk through it.
So Phosphorus Cybersecurity is my third startup on my own, my fourth cybersecurity startup that I've been involved in. And we are focused on the problem set of keeping IoT devices secure, patched, and up to date. And it's a difficult problem because unlike keeping computers up to date, you're really only dealing with a couple of platforms, right? You've got Microsoft, Mac, Linux servers to deal with. In the IoT world, there are probably 100 new products every day. And they're across a myriad of operating systems. The vendors go in and out of business. There's a lot of M&A activity. And so trying to secure these devices is a moving target. And so what we've built for both the consumer and the enterprise is a very easy to use application. And in the enterprise, it's a console and server that keeps those devices secured and patched all in one place.
Now, is this an automated process, or is something? Because I know what I have to do when I want to change my passwords, or I want to, do what I as a feeble layman can do to try and protect myself. What are you doing that makes life easier and separates you from everybody else?
Well, so we fully automated the solution, and the solution does not require an agent. There's no way to install an agent on an Amazon Echo or an Axis network camera or a Samsung TV. It's a fool's errand. So in the PC world, you install software on your computer to keep it secure. You don't have that option in the IoT. So what we've invented are technologies that can update 1 or 10,000 of these with a click of a button, change the passwords, set the configuration so it's secure, and make sure it's always patched.
Wow. That is earth-shattering. That is amazing. Where is your market? I mean, are you domestic? You're already global? And
no, we're early. We're not global yet. I think this is certainly a global problem. Typically in cybersecurity startups, you want to address financial services because these are the companies that truly have unlimited budgets. Jamie Dimon's the first guy who came out and said, our cybersecurity budget is now unlimited, which is, if you're a cybersecurity vendor, that's who you want to be talking to. And also in tech companies, and that's relatively new space. Historically, the last 20 years, tech companies like to build their own security, but they're so focused now on their own products and the breaches are affecting the tech companies so severely that tech companies are very interested in this technology and getting a grasp on their IoT environment.
Okay, so this is a B2B business model. Is there a B2C in it also? Because I mean, I don't want somebody recording my stuff from the refrigerator.
There is a B2C place. So we're starting out giving away a consumer application, and that actually helps make our enterprise product better because it allows consumers to report new devices to us that we can add into our system, and everybody then gets the security updates automatically. And down the road in a few years, when the typical consumer has every outlet, light bulb, thermostat, an appliance connected, they may be willing to pay for an application like mine to keep it secure. But for the foreseeable future, we'll give that away. I think it's a good way to get millennials trying out the product who maybe are a buyer in the enterprise, and maybe they'll take it into work and run it at work and say, wow, look what I can do from my phone. Let's go ahead and look at the enterprise product.
Brilliant, brilliant. Is there anything else you want to bring out on today's interview about stuff that we don't know about yet?
Well, I think in general, the IoT security space is brand new. There are only a handful of startups focused solely on IoT security. And when you look at the growth rate of IoT security, the growth rate of IT versus IoT is dramatically bigger. Mm-hmm. And so we're betting that as the cybersecurity spend continues to increase, tying the cybersecurity spend to a market that's growing faster than IT assures that the budgets will be there to pay for this type of technology. So it's a high growth market for sure.
I agree. I'd like to extend an offer that you come back and keep us up to speed on the new things that are constantly coming across your desk that maybe we should know about and we don't know about yet. How about that, Chris?
Absolutely. I'd like to come back and talk to you about the next big hack. The latest information on Marriott is they were hacked through an IoT device.
Can't wait for that. All right. Thanks for being a guest on today's show.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
You've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Thanks for watching with us. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.